Hey everyone, I am bringing on Reverend Rachel Schwab to talk about a really cool topic. And specifically, we're going to talk about today the topic of Reiki and religion. So I would love for those of you who are listening, if you have comments, questions, put them in the chat. Feel free to comment, and we would love to really review your comments later and check them out. But I'm going to bring on Reverend Rachel Schwab, and we're going to introduce her so you can learn more about her. And then let's get into this conversation. Hello, Rachel. Welcome to our pre-event for the New Visions Holistic Expo. We are so glad to have you. I know we can't have you at the event this year, but I really am excited that we can bring you on and really talk about this topic. But before we go into it, I really think the audience would love to know more about you and your background and why we're talking about this particular topic.
Sure. So this topic is especially important to me. I have been an ordained minister for over 25 years. I've served churches and also as a hospital chaplain in various locations in the U.S. And in the past two and a half years, I have been with a Reiki business, starting my own Reiki business. And so I offer Reiki healing. I actually work at a church. I'm not a pastor at the church, but I serve as their wellness coordinator here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Cumberland Valley in Boiling Springs. And I absolutely love what I'm able to do and help people through healing. I've been a master Reiki teacher since 2021. And also I'm a trauma specialist from 2022. So I was very busy during the pandemic getting extra training. This topic has come up for me because I've worked with people at the end of life and felt that Reiki was a nice complement to the ministry that I do. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah. Oh, and I currently reside in Carlisle, Pennsylvania as well. So.
Thank you. Yeah, so Reiki is something that sometimes people still don't know what it is. So let's just talk about what it is. I've been really loving Reiki for so long. It's so good for nervous system regulation, for stress management, and so many things. And so I think some people still don't know what it actually is and how you work with it. And then we can dive into how the questions come up of like, does it go with my religion? Like there's a lot of these questions that people come up. So let's dive into that.
Yes. So yeah, Reiki is for folks, whether you've experienced, I always say it's like a gentle hug. If you've ever had a hug or if you've had an ache or pain on your knee, you might rub your knee. That energy, we connect with that through light touch, and that area might feel warm. And Reiki does that also in a way. It's a very gentle, hands-on, gentle touch. Sometimes it's no touch, and sometimes it's just hands hovering over the body. And the goal is just for deep relaxation, but also it gets to the root of a lot of the things that we're experiencing, whether it's anxiety or physical pain or even emotional issues, depression, anxiety, things like that. It really helps to relax the body so that it can receive any type of healing that it needs. And of course, Reiki is complementary to traditional medicine. There's no contraindications with Reiki. You can practice it anywhere, anytime, of course, with people's permission to do so. And I just find Reiki is so healing in many ways. I never claim to cure people with Reiki, of course, but I say I'm a partner in your healing with Reiki. And when it's also, I have found it very helpful when I'm at the bedside of someone who is at the end of life. And just like we hold hands with someone that we love, Reiki also, I can feel the energy of that person through their hands or on their head. And that just helps relax the body to then go deeper into the place that the body needs to go. to receive that healing. I'm not the one doing the directing of that, and we'll get into that in a moment about that connection. But that, for me, Reiki, it provides just a bridge between that light source that is coming through me, and then through my hands. So that's how I define Reiki for myself and for others. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the universal life force energy is what Reiki means, and it's
Yes.
originally from Japan. So I think that that's where the becoming from another culture, it being a hands-on or hands above the body type of modality that can be very supportive. And I really love that you said that it's supportive for getting to the root and just the body's need for relaxation, regulation, because it really does support all things. And I'm really loving that you were working a lot with the trauma during our pandemic and supporting people. And Reiki's a fantastic modality for that.
Yes.
So
yes.
you'd like to go into, I'd love to hear like maybe some stories, maybe some questions that you have often gotten. Like, what was your reaction when you first got some of these questions? Because my reaction was, wait a minute, what do people think Reiki is? There was sort of some strange perceptions of what it was. So let's dive into those.
Yeah. So one of the first questions I often get is Reiki a religion? And of course, when you study Reiki, as you mentioned, you learn that Reiki comes from a lineage from the Japanese tradition. But as I remind people, there in every indigenous culture or every culture, there is a healing modality. And so, but a lot of people connect it then back to a faith tradition or faith healing. Some people might be familiar with that. And so when people say to me, well, how could you be a Christian minister and do Reiki? Are they opposed to each other? How does that work? So I remind people that Reiki is actually, when I was attuned or blessed with the blessing of Reiki, that is a time when the teacher passes the lineage on to the student. So it's like when you study anything, and you are learning from your favorite teacher or your favorite mentor, tools that then will move you forward. That is what Reiki does. So I always remind people that I have been passed down this lineage, and it's very humbling to be able to share with others. And so, is Reiki a religion? No, but it's also yes, for me, because you can be from any different faith background and connect with Reiki. However, Reiki does not come from me. It comes from, again, that light, that universal life energy is flowing through me, moving through me and through my hands. So I'm a channel, so to speak, for this energy, or a vessel for this energy. And then the Reiki goes where it needs to go for the client or the person receiving. I'm not directing that. I don't have, magic fingers that I'm zapping it, particularly someplace. But I often remind people that it is the creator or the developer of Reiki, Master Usui. He studied many different religions. He himself came from a Buddhist tradition. And so, but there were also many other traditions that he encountered. But that wasn't the defining piece of what Reiki was. It was meant to get in touch with who you are, your true self, and your true being, and help others through hands-on healing. And so I remind people that, yes, I can still be a minister and still offer Reiki as well. And again, I've also had experiences where I've held people's hands and they've said, oh, your hands are getting so warm. And maybe I'm just holding their hands. And the Reiki is just coming naturally in. And we do that with anyone that we love or that we care about. We can feel that warmth from that person next to us. So for me, is Reiki a religion? No, but it has a spiritual dimension for me. And not everyone may view Reiki that way. There are many different schools of thought, lineages of Reiki. But I really, truly look at it as a spiritual practice and connect with it in that way, if that makes sense.
I love that we have such a diversity of backgrounds in religion for all over the world.
Yes.
And those are things that we put into words, we put into scriptures, we put into books, we put into teachings, right?
Yes.
And they have been passed down. And there's something that when you're sitting in a congregation, you're sitting in a meditation, sitting in a space out in nature, the lived experience, that the energy that people might experience, that they might describe having a spiritual experience, praying or meditating or connecting with nature, a tree. I think that that is the universal experience. That is the universal energy that we maybe don't recognize. And we put it, we really experience it through our lens for each of our backgrounds and our religious beliefs, but it's still that energy, that experience that you're sharing. And I think it's really beautiful to illustrate when you're sitting with someone who is passing, their energy and life force is shifting, is transitioning, right? And there is a palpable difference, I'm sure. For you, I'm sure you felt that. And we have some of our vendors, actually, we have 2 death doulas that are also incorporate this work into working with people through midwifing them through the other side, that yes, there's a shift between that energy in the body. So it is an experience I think everyone's had, that it's so subtle that we may don't talk about it. Right. But when you train to Reiki, you start understanding and feeling and sensing through lived experience of things having this universal life force energy that you learn to sense and touch and feel. So yes, I love that. So tell us some other things that people commonly think about when they associate Reiki and religion.
Yeah, so I think one of the other questions that often comes up is similar to the first question, but is there any evil? I guess I really don't like to. I never usually talk about that, but one of the questions is well, how is it not me giving the Reiki, or how do I know it's not me as the practitioner? It's coming from God, or from the God of my understanding, higher power, the universal life energy. And so people are, once in a while, I will get someone that thinks, well, isn't that not of God? And how do you just describe that to people? And I often share from my tradition, and of course you can share from whatever tradition you come from, or background, but I often share that there are actually many clergy people that also do a hands-on healing, either through healing touch or Reiki or other modalities, as a way to connect in with the people that they're working with, and as a form of prayer. And of course, I remind people, for example, in the Christian tradition, there are Jesus, the Christ consciousness is about healing, or about healing others. Jesus does a lot of healing in the community in which he serves. And so I remind people of different healing stories from scriptures, to say that, that this is what I am doing is not from me. You have to let go of the ego in order to do Reiki and do energy healing, because if I was to use my own energy, that would definitely not be above board. But I often remind people that whatever does not serve you, is up to the Reiki. The Reiki does that. It's not me moving that. And it's just very interesting how people, the reason why I know it's not me is that every person that I work with Reiki, use Reiki, have a different experience. Everybody has a different experience. And usually, sometimes even I can put my hands on someone and I may not notice what the person noticed. For example, I might feel warmth in one area and they'll start crying when I touch a different area. And they'll say, well, I really connected with that area of my body when you touched this other area. So I know that if I was directing that, then, you know, it would maybe have a different result or expectation. So that's a long sort of way of saying that I know it's not me, because it, and again, it's always hard to describe to people that you will know as the receiver of Reiki that it is not from me. You'll know because you're going to feel different. You're going to feel maybe less anxious. Maybe you'll feel more relaxed. Maybe you'll have an emotional response. Many people will contact me later and say they slept better that night, or they had a vision or a dream, or maybe they just feel super, or other people notice that they feel super relaxed and are shifting. I've had that experience too. And so I, you know, often people, no one ever says, oh, well, Rachel, I could tell you were, you know, pressing something into me. No, it's not like that. So I often tell people, until you really experience it, or if you've experienced prayer. Another thing I often share with people is that if you've ever in your faith tradition have ever prayed for people around the world, or pray distantly, or offer blessings to someone who's not right next to you, that is also a form of Reiki. We're sending that good vibes, the good energy. And, you know, we do that all the time. We say, well, let me, you know, on Facebook, we'll say, well, sending you love and light or prayers. And then people might respond, oh, I feel your prayers. Well, that's a very, why do we say that? Why do we do notice when an energy shift happens, whether it's with someone right next to you or across the world. So, yeah.
I love taking it back to just we talked about before, that it's an energy and it's something that we've created words and language to explain this
Yes.
phenomenon. And before I did my Reiki training, I worked at a chiropractor, and we had a really high volume practice, like 200 people a day. And I would be putting my hands on them, getting them ready as massage therapists. And sometimes I would not try, but all of a sudden my hands would get really hot, and there was just an energy coming through. And, you know, some people say, well, you have to be trained to have that happen. No, like that's, I think that's where, just like massage therapy has so many different techniques that we learn. Some human experienced or creative flow came through them. They came up with this beautiful massage technique. I think that just like Reiki and healing touch and, you know, the hands-on healing techniques, those are all the same thing. And I think just learning the training and the lineage is these techniques to work with it, to be able to channel it in a stronger way and to allow it to come through. So I just wanted to share that, because again, the language, I think, is what creates this is this and this is that. So that's what I kind of experienced. And it did happen before I even got training. So
yes, absolutely.
Some people told me that, and they might be listening saying, this has happened to me. I don't have Reiki training.
Right.
So,
Right. And even I'm also a Bowen practitioner as well. And I mean, we're taught in the training also to feel for hot spots on the body. And you can do that yourself to feel like, do you notice any areas on your body that are feeling a little warmer than others? Or you might feel naturally a hot spot somewhere on your body. And, you know, just leave your hands there and you might notice it starts to dissipate or go away. And so that is, if you're more of a scientific person, or I have people that are also atheists who are like, well, I don't know about this woo-woo Reiki stuff. And I'm like, you know what? It's scientific. There's the law of thermodynamics that tells us there is energy. So even when a body, physical body leaves its leaves the body, or in your body, the soul leaves the body is what I'm trying to say, that you, where does that energy go? It's still out in the universe. And so we still have this energy that it is surrounding our bodies. And we do have layers of energy around our body, and that is a scientific fact. And so I remind people, whether you're religious or not, that there are these layers of energy, and Reiki helps us to get in tune with that. And again, I'm also, one of the things that I share with people about Reiki is that it really is about, in my opinion, taking care of yourself first. So, and that is also what we are taught in Reiki, is that we are taught to self-care. And I find that the Reiki encourages me. I use it as part of my daily prayer meditation time. And it really enhances that. So no matter what religion you are, you can still offer yourself some self Reiki, gentle body scan, um, feeling for the hot spots if you like. Maybe there's a tingly area on your body, but just know that's helping you to get in tune with your inner nature as well. And that's the beauty of Reiki, that offers that. And whether doesn't matter what religion you are, or if you're not religious, it allows space for that. And I've had people very skeptical get on the table with no expectations. They're like, you know what? Nothing's going to happen. I don't feel. And I always go into the session preparing myself to be just like, the Reiki is going to go where it needs to go. That's my mantra. And, when we go through the session, maybe I might notice some things, maybe not. And then the person may or may not notice things, and that's okay. The expectation is that you don't have to have this light bulb, lightning striking you moment on the table, so to speak. But the fact is that cumulatively, Reiki affects your body, and affects your emotional body, your physical, your subtle body, in many different ways. And that's the beauty of it. And so again, that is not connected to a particular religion. But there certainly are philosophies and religious theology that out there that would agree with a lot of that type of belief system. So, yeah.
Many languages all trying to point to the same thing.
Correct.
So is there anything else that you'd like to share with us about this topic, or about what you offer as far as Reiki or things like that?
Yeah. So one of my favorite things is that I do offer Reiki sessions, but also a time for clearing any emotional concerns or issues as well that come up with the Reiki. So I do offer emotional clearing and Reiki sessions combined, where we do some testing to see, where in your life maybe we need to release some things in addition to the Reiki. So the Reiki, to me, is the way to kind of allow the body to relax. We might have a conversation, especially around those hot spots on the body. A lot of people might call them chakras or meridians, different ways of defining that. And then, from there, then we might have a conversation, and people might realize, well, maybe it is a connection to their intuition that they need to work on, or maybe they're nervous and anxious, so they're maybe around their solar plexus area or their abdomen area. They'll be having some troubles, and we'll talk about it. So I feel like the skills that I have as a minister, providing spiritual counseling for people, as well as the Reiki, has been such a wonderful combination. And a lot of people have come to me specifically for that connection between the spirit, or if they're having spiritual trauma even, or issues around that I can help them work through that process. So,
Thank you so much. So how do we get in touch with you if we're more interested in more learning about you and your work?
absolutely. So you can either check me out on my website, which is revrachelschwab.com. And I will get that to you, Kara. And then also you can give me a call at 717-962-5201, text or call. And I'm happy to either do a distant session with you, or we can do a in-person session. And so I look forward to talking to any of you at any time. Pleased.
Well, I
Pleased to
really
be
think that this topic is so important for people because there's a lot of people that have misconceptions or there's fears. And so I think any other questions that people might have, you would
Yes.
be the go-to person just to ask, to just talk to
Yeah,
about it.
absolutely.
And we're really going to miss you at the event this year. I know that you really want to come. And for those who are watching, this is the 24th annual New Visions Holistic Expo at York, Pennsylvania. It is a 2-day event. We have 100 vendors, and we are featuring 5 nationally recognized Hay House authors this year. And there are a lot of experiences that people can have there. So we hope to have you next year, Rachel.
Yes.
We have so many things that people can experience, including Reiki. So if someone has not experienced Reiki, I know you're familiar with Ricky Friedman, Reiki by Reiki.
Yes.
Fantastic. So she and her team will be there offering Reiki sessions, mini services for people who maybe haven't tried it or they want to get another service and try it out. So that's something that we encourage people to do. We'll be also showing you, even if you're not joining us, we'll be having information about you as well in our program so that people can learn more about you and reach out. But other than that, if anyone's interested in getting tickets, that's at newvisionsholisticexpo.com. We have our newsletters that will go out, and this video, of course, will be up for rewatching after the live here, so you can watch it over again. Share with your friends, because if you have friends that are kind of curious about Reiki and like the same thing, if they want to ask a minister, I think you are just such a resource. And thank you so much for taking your time to share with us. But other than that, Rachel, are there anything else you want to share?
Well, I just wanted to just quickly end with the fact that I hope people remember that Reiki is not about replacing religion, and it's not about asking people to become something else, but it's a compassionate practice that supports healing and balance and deeper connection. And so I hope that they will look for Ricky, who was my teacher. So I'm very pleased and happy to share any of our Reiki practitioners out there, that we're all working for that highest good and connecting to our worlds. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Cara.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And everyone for listening, thank you again. And we hope to see you at the New Visions Holistic Expo, August 8th and 9th.
Yay.
Bye, everyone.